Today we're making my BLT frittata. So the first thing we're doing is breaking our eggs into the bowl. And I tell people in cooking classes if they're nervous about getting a shell into the bowl with their eggs, especially once you're halfway through cracking your eggs, do one at a time in a bowl or a mixing cup and pour it in so you make sure not to get shells in your eggs. We're gonna whisk up our eggs until they're all incorporated and there are no bits of yellow or white separated. If you ever make scrambled eggs and you see the streaks of white in your scrambled eggs, it just means that the egg white wasn't fully whisked into the yolk. The more you whisk air into your eggs, the fluffier they'll be when you cook them. Okay, now we want to prep all of our ingredients so that they're ready to go because this cooks relatively quickly. I'm chopping up 4 slices of bacon. I'm just gonna cut them down the middle and then again into smaller bite-sized pieces. And when we saute the bacon in the pan, it's actually the cooking fat that we're using to cook our eggs. So this is the first thing that will go in our pan once it warms up. I like to look for bacon that's sugar-free and it keeps the sugar out of your food and just adds flavor from the bacon. I'm also using 2 garlic cloves. It should be about a tablespoon. Cut off both ends of the garlic clove and use the thick part of your knife blade to smash the garlic. So it's ready to go. When you prepare all of your ingredients for a recipe, it's called mise en place, which means everything in place. And it makes cooking so much more seamless. The next thing we need to do is cut our onion. It's just half an onion, and we're gonna cut horizontal and vertical slices. Keep your fingers lightly on top and cut almost all the way to the back, and then slices vertically from the top. The closer the slices are together, the finer your dice will be. Tuck your fingers under when you're cutting the onion. The spinach will cook way down quickly, so there's no need to chop that up, but you do want to cut your tomatoes in half. So we'll just cut these from top to bottom in half. I like to use a cast iron pan for this recipe, but any oven-proof pan will work. You can use a saute pan, anything that can go in the oven after you start the eggs on top of the stove. We're gonna add our bacon to the pan and we'll cook this down. If you don't eat bacon or you'd like to make this recipe vegetarian, you can use about 1.5 tablespoons of avocado oil or butter when you're starting this recipe before you add the eggs. When you're cooking your bacon, it's important to render the fat from the bacon, which is what you'll use to cook the eggs in the frittata. So that means to cook it until the bacon just melts into the pan. And these bits of white will release the cooking fat that we'll use for our frittata. You want to keep the heat at a medium-low temperature for this. You don't want it too high or your bacon will just burn on the edges and the fat won't render quite as well. So a medium-low heat is perfect. So the bacon is ready to add the onions. It should be slightly crispy around the edges and most of the white in the bacon should be cooked down. So we'll add our onions. And we'll give this a stir. The onions should lose their solid white color and get a little opaque and clear before you add the garlic. Coat them in the bacon grease to give them good flavor before you add the rest of your ingredients. I'm adding our garlic and we'll give that a quick stir. Soon after you add the garlic, you can add the rest of your vegetable ingredients, your tomatoes and your spinach, and give these a quick stir. You don't need to stir these too much. The spinach will wilt the second the eggs hit the pan. Whisk up more time before you add them, and just pour them in. Then we're gonna finish our frittata in a 350-degree oven just until it sits. I like to cook the frittata in the top of my oven because it cooks quickly from the heat that way. It's gonna be finished before you know it. I like to serve frittatas with a tangy salad on the side, and the vinaigrette just adds a nice complement to creamy eggs. This BLT frittata is delicious served warm out of the oven, but it's almost just as good served room temperature, left over for breakfast or a quick lunch during the week. I hope you enjoy this recipe as much as I do.